It's 7:34 right now, and New York City Mayor Eric Adams and the City Council are at odds over some key issues involving street vendors and delivery workers.
Council members are expected to overturn 2 of Mayor Adams' vetoes today, and they'll be gathered on the steps of City Hall. This morning, joining us are Councilman Shaker Krishnan and Councilwoman Sandy Nurse with more details on how these measures will really impact New Yorkers. So good morning to both of you. Thank you for being here. Let me begin first with the back and forth here. The mayor goes ahead and vetoes this. You have power to override that veto, and it's a bit of a back and forth. Why?
Well, right now the legislation that the mayor did a veto on was about workers. We did legislation to put minimum pay for delivery workers to bring them to $21.44 an hour. These are people who deliver your groceries. When you order on the app, your groceries don't just magically appear at the door, right? There's someone else, their livelihood, people trying to raise their families. And similarly with street vendors, these are hardworking people who don't deserve to be criminalized.
I mean, when you're talking about the delivery workers, though, the mayor was saying that it's going to be tacked on to consumers. Is that not the case?
So Instacart is a $13 billion company. The CEO last year made $40 million. If the CEO of Instacart wants to roll the cost of paying their workers a minimum wage onto consumers, that is certainly their choice. We hope they don't do that. The CEO could choose to make $39 million. They certainly have more than enough. If they choose to roll that cost over, it's simply because of greed.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like they were going to. But that's a conversation that's for a different day. I want to talk about the other bill to decriminalize street vendors, and that is your bill here. So there's issues with just getting permits for street vendors, which is why you're seeing some of the illegal ones here. So what did the bill say, and why did the mayor override it?
Sure. Well, just taking a step back for a moment, our street vendors are our smallest businesses in New York City, and there's no question that we need a comprehensive, well-regulated system of street vending. My bill helps create that system and is the first step in doing so, because it ends the criminalizing of street vendors, because no one should go to jail, face criminal conviction, or now in this world that we're in today, immigration consequences simply for selling food to support their family. We're in a moment where Donald Trump has added 10,000 ICE agents to the federal government payroll. He's talking about sending the National Guard here. And we've seen the horrific stories coming out of 26 Federal Plaza. We cannot have our street vendors, 96% of whom are immigrants, facing jail time and immigration consequences simply for trying to survive and support their family. And my bill ends that. And once we pass it, we can then come up with a more comprehensive, sensible system.
When you decriminalize it, does that mean they have to get a permit?
It means that they won't face misdemeanor charges or jail time or immigration consequences for selling food.
So is the City Council currently working on a way to regulate street vending?
Yes, we are actively working on a package of legislation that addresses all of these different issues to create the system that we need around street vending. There's no question that it's a broken system right now. So many street vendors, an artificial scarcity of permits, very few regulations. But the first step to creating that system is to remove the distractions. And this is a very harmful distraction. And by vetoing our legislation that we passed with an overwhelming majority, Mayor Adams is once again advancing Donald Trump's anti-immigrant agenda, and he is willingly putting immigrants in New York City in harm's way, and we in the New York City Council will not accept that.
Very interesting, because years ago there was a churro vendor in Brooklyn in the subway station. I don't know if you remember this
Broadway
story.
Junction.
That was in your district.
Maria,
Yes, and she was
arrested more than once.
Right, and the mayor came out, at the time he was Brooklyn Borough President, and said that that should not have happened. So now this is a bit of a flip-flop. And then
I mean, he's been flip-flopping on everything.
He was for raising wages of delivery workers. So what happened?
He's abandoned it. He's abandoned workers. He's abandoning working people. He's sold out the immigrant community to clear his criminal charges. He's made a deal with Trump, and he's trying to enact that. We should not be criminalizing. We should never send someone to jail for selling churros. We should never send someone to jail for selling mangoes on the street, right? That is a civil issue, that is a social issue, it's an economic issue. It's people trying to secure their livelihoods. And the same thing with delivery workers. This is mostly an immigrant workforce, whether you work for restaurants or if you're delivering groceries. People deserve protections, they deserve a good livable wage. This is one of the most unaffordable cities. Costs are rising. People want to put food on the table. They want to pay their rent. They want to survive here. They want to have good lives. And the legislation that we've advanced does that. And it's really shameful and embarrassing that he is working so hard to undermine that.
Can you talk about next steps then? Once the city council overrides the mayor's veto, what happens now?
Then these laws go into effect. In our case, they'll go into rulemaking, and the agencies will develop the rules for how to secure the minimum pay wage for the grocery delivery workers, and then in the
same thing in the street vendor context, but the issue is now it'll take 180 days after we override these vetoes for these laws to go into effect. So in other words, the mayor's vetoes and then forcing us to override them is long delaying the kind of reforms and we need to stand up for workers and immigrants in New York City.
So if it does go into effect, right, and just to play devil's advocate, if Instacart or whoever doesn't say, well, we'll eat the cost, and it does get onto the consumer, does the city council do anything?
Well, when we looked at what happened with restaurant delivery workers, what we saw is that consumer demand has gone up. We've seen more delivery workers out doing deliveries. There's more jobs. It hasn't had a negative impact on the industry as a whole, and we suspect it'll be the same for grocery delivery workers because they're doing the same types of jobs. They're often working for the same apps, multiple apps doing the same types of work. So we don't anticipate, and it's not reflective in the data that we've seen, we don't anticipate a negative impact.
All right. Well, thank you both for coming in to lay it all out for us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us on.